Yeah, this is Daniel Sinclair, and I'm in the creative studios of Green Room 97 in Columbus, Ohio. I'm here with the founder of Green Room, who is producing our third episode of Voices of Inspiration, Larry Hawkins Jr. And I should mention that Larry is a new papa, a new father. Uh, the Hawkins family have welcomed a new young lady to their family. Congratulations to the Hawkins family. Um, in our third episode, um, my guest today is a young lady that just brings energy into the room when she walks into the room. I met her at the Eldon Ward YMCA at Columbus, Ohio. And indeed, like I say, when she comes in the room, she just brings a lot of energy with her. And I think you're going to really enjoy and be inspired by her story. And I would like to welcome to Voices of Inspiration, Janet Torres.
Ah, oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having
Welcome.
me here.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the time. I'm Janet. I am the wellness director at Ward YMCA. I'm also um, I own business called Diversibility Fitness, and it's one of my niche. I work with people with diverse abilities, all types of disabilities in the fitness industry. And my main focus is to make sure we all have access in the health and wellness industry. So thank you
Uh,
for having me.
yes. Well, that's we're happy to welcome you here. Um, Tell us your story.
Ah,
Who is Janice Torres?
who am I?
Yeah.
I'm just me.
Uh,
Where do you want me to start?
let's start from birth.
Okay, birth.
Yeah.
Well, as a kid, I was born with CP. CP, what's that? It's called cerebral palsy. All right, and I have it's called dysplasia, so it's from the I want to say that's right. So if I didn't say it correctly, I do apologize. There's a lot of different terms out there. I have a lot in my head. So
Mm-hmm.
it's from the hip down. So what cerebral palsy does, it affects your mother muscles. It can either really loosen them or really tighten them. Called
Mm-hmm.
spasticity, spastics, spasms. So mine is from the trunk down, the hips down, and I have tight muscles in my hamstrings, my glutes, my calves, and because of that, it's hard to extend. Now imagine wearing a really tight fitted jeans and then going up, stairs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's hard to move.
Yeah. Right.
Now imagine always feeling that way.
Okay.
You know, because of that, you're tripping, you're falling, you're always fighting against your own body. Um, so yes, I was born with CP as a
Okay.
child.
And um, tell us about some of the feelings and when you realized that you were different and and
Yeah.
dealing with other children and family and so forth.
Well, growing up as a kid, you don't think like I am what I am. I'm not different,
Mm.
but you learn that you are by how people treat you, and by what the things that you go through as a kid, and just like so many memories, so many. I was always falling. I was
Mhm.
always falling, trying to walk. I didn't really learn how to walk until I was like 3 years old. Now, like the average child, you're talking what? What is there? 9 months,
9 months,
10.
something like that.
So wasn't until I was 3 where I started to really start to move. You know.
Tell me about your family and your
Okay.
family structure.
Yeah. Well, I was the youngest out of five. I have one brother who is in the middle, two older sisters, and then I have a second to youngest sister. So what? Four girls and one boy. I'm the youngest out of the family.
Okay.
Um, you know, we grew up. I wouldn't say like the projects, but like we grew up. I'm from Connecticut, so we remember was living in a household, an apartment, apartment complex. It was all of us in one household plus my dad and my mom. My dad had like two, three jobs, and I remember my mom working as well. So it's just making ends meet. Being minority, being Puerto Rican, and just living in that that atmosphere, and just parents wasn't always home. I
Hmm.
mean, you got kids. If I'm the youngest, you have older siblings watching you. We did a lot of stuff, kids do. I
Yeah. So how did your siblings, were they protective of you?
want to
How
say
did you deal?
yes. You just kind of live life. You know what I mean? And I think that as growing up as a kid, that's what they did. You deal with what you're given until you understand, like, oh, wait a minute, like this is not okay. But yeah, I mean, they were supportive. My sister was there. I remember my second oldest, her name is Jessica. She was there a lot. My older sister, Christina, she was like the other, I would say, my second mom figure, so to speak. She was there to support us, support the younger siblings a lot. Yeah, but they kind of helped me through school and stuff like that. And
Hmm. What were the experiences like in school? Hmm.
yeah, so when you're now, I know my perspective right now. What I'm about to tell you is because now I'm older. I can see things. I can understand. Right.
Right.
So when you're growing up with a disability, right? The world is structured in such a follow me. Okay, I know I go down rabbit holes, but it all comes back together.
Gotcha.
So yeah, you you're born with a disability. Like society kind of tells you, hey, this is what normal is, so to speak, right?
Hmm.
And this is what's attractive. This is what's good. This is what you like. So anything out of that is rejected or thought less of, or thought like you're not good enough, or it's not attractive. You can get me on a whole nother topic of what's attractive and not attractive. That's another day. Anyways,
I hear
so
you.
growing up as a kid, as a child, um, there's a lot of times where I was experienced being alone, being not accepted, being kind of outcasted. Why? Because I walk different. When I walk, I have CP. Because of my cerebral palsy, I'm dragging my feet. I'm falling. I look different. You can see what I look. It is, I am what I am. So I had some friends, but it's just when you live where you feel secluded, you don't feel like you're accepted all the time. And during that time, you're talking early 90s, my age, but like the society, the schools, the programs wasn't really accessible. This is why I drive the way that I do, and my passion is the way that it is now. And what I mean by accessible was fit for all, made for everyone to enjoy, to live,
Right.
right?
Yes. Hmm.
So I didn't get to play sports. but I watched them. I didn't get to be involved in activities, but I was sitting in the sidelines. Um, I remember one time my family they brought us to it was at Betances, right, to a basketball game, and I had leg braces and walkers and things like that during my childhood. I remember sitting on the floor with my leg braces, my leg extended out. Apparently, my legs were past the line while they were
Mm.
playing basketball. And I remember the coach and what's that called? What's it called?
A
Yeah,
referee?
yeah,
Yes.
that's the one.
Yeah.
He was pointing at me and blowing the whistle. And the
Yeah.
coach is like, kid, get off the court. And they literally I remember because we were on the sidelines watching, so it was a group of us,
Yeah.
and the people pulled me back, dragged my literally body, literally pulled
And
me
pulled
back
you back off the court.
off the court behind
Mm.
everybody else.
Mm. And what were you feeling? Can you recall?
Oh, embarrassed, out of feeling out of place, feeling sad, like
Yes.
you know what I mean.
Yeah. So what inner mechanisms did you have to defend yourself in these times? What did you refer to? How did you get through those?
um, I was like 5, 6, 7. Um, being I guess really young, you don't
You know.
process well, but like I had my mom introduced me. She was a Pentecostal church. So I
Okay.
knew there was a God. I knew there was a Lord. I knew like Jesus. Um, and that's all as a kid, 6 years old, like, okay, God, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what I had. That's what I
Mm.
have. Or, then too. And my imaginary friends, so to speak. I remember just being in a room a lot, being alone a lot. Um, saying prayers I didn't think God would hear. Uh, but there were times where I got sad to the point where I wanted to commit suicide. And this is at 5,
At 5 years old,
6.
you
You
wanted to
don't
commit.
think nothing. You don't think it. You don't like. How can one process it? But
Mm.
it's a quick thought, and that could happen very easily, especially well, from what I remember, just everything you're going through. And I remember looking out the window and something says jump.
Mm.
You could jump. And we were on the third, fourth floor. You could jump. No one's there.
At 5 years old.
5 or 6. I was a kid. I remember because of my clothes, what I was wearing. I was young.
Mm.
What? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I remember someone calling me, and then I kind of snapped back out of it. But
Mm.
having those thoughts, and just once again, it's because why society teaches you, hey, I don't have much friends. Why? Because I'm not considered normal, or that was my perspective at the
Mm.
time.
So as you grew older, did you develop more tools to work with, inner tools to work with, or how did you
Yeah,
begin to work your way through this process?
you learn to adapt.
Okay.
You learn to whatever life throws at you. You start to adapt. You start to pivot and say, okay, this isn't working. I got to find another way.
Mm.
And throughout school, as teenager years. Okay, now we go through teenager years. Now you're just like everybody shutting down. Like you shut down, you start to be secluded, you start to be a loner. That's who I was. And
Mm.
just, getting through it, getting through school. Did I had help? Yeah, I mean, I talk to my teachers. You reach out. You try to get the help that you need. Um, and that's what it was. Just muscling through it and living through daily life, and
Just getting through it, so to speak.
yes, and then going to church. I went to church. My mom always brought me to church no matter how much I had attitudes, and being 15, 16, didn't want to do nothing, but she
Mm.
still was stickler on it, and I remember, I think I gave my life, um, 17, 18. I was just going through stuff with my mom, feeling I was rejected by everybody. And I was like, I can't take it anymore. I don't fit in. And I remember reading the Bible. King James Version, thou art thy.
Yeah, I hear
I
you.
had the old
Yeah,
school one.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember reading it said, scripture. It said, where remember that they hated me or rejected me before they hated you. Something like that. Right?
Hmm.
I wish I know all the scriptures. Sometimes I do. I know. But at that moment, I was just like, dang, Jesus went through it. And I'm going through it too. And that was it. I was like, all right, Lord, what we do? He was my first love, my my interaction I had. I think
Yeah, so you felt his presence with you
at a
at
young
all
age.
times, huh?
Yeah, a young age. Very
Yes.
young.
So did you develop you have friendships or were you in any programs of any type or
Yeah.
what was
During a kid, like once again, when you're a child, and especially medical, when it comes to medical and support, they
mm,
have programs, right?
mm,
And that's the issue, and that's the gap. I'm still here trying to help close and bring light on. And this day and age, they're starting to become more aware of this and close the gap. But as a kid, you had programs. I went to camp. I did like hip hardness, whereas basic people with disabilities were accepted, and they still had the separation. Like this is your camp, and this is normal camp.
mm,
Anyways, that's what I had. But as a teenager, as you get older, the program starts to diminish.
mm,
You don't have the support like you're supposed to. I was doing physical therapies and things like that as a kid, and then it started to dwindle as you get older, which makes no sense. 15, 16, you should still be in it,
right.
but um, you don't have that.
Okay, so you're at the time of life where you're trying to figure everything out and trying to figure yourself out and which paths you want to take. And so how's that going?
uh, I get well during that time. It wasn't easy, since you're always like felt rejected and craving for attention and love, especially at a young age, 19, 20. You get involved in just toxic relationships, so to speak, or anyone that will give you that. It's kind of like, oh, it's positive, right? And I did the best I could. Still have my faith walk with God, and I ended up having getting pregnant with my daughter. When I was 20, I had her.
Hmm.
And
That was a life changer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they told me I couldn't have any kids. They said
Oh.
when I was born, they were like, oh, they told my mom, like, hey, she's not going to be able to have children.
Mm.
I have my child. She's
Okay.
17 now. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It
So that was a surprise, a blessing, or something, and a challenge
was.
all at once. Yes.
It was. I was an uncomfortable place at that time. And
Can imagine.
we knew we had to make a change, and believing in Christ, believing in God. My sister Christina, she's a dreamer. When I say she has dreams, and so like she had a dream, like we knew we had to move, right? And we were like, so I remember I having a dream, and I never really had vivid dreams, but I had this one vivid dream, and I remember it was like of cornfields. I was like, we're praying, we need to move. I had a dream of cornfields. It's like, okay. And then my sister had a dream of apartments with a red door. A red door was sticking out. And during that time, I wanted to be in the church. I was like, let's go. I want to try to go to church. Oh, what's that, seminary school? What's that? Is that like, here you go to become a theologian, right? Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is not my career
Uh,
now, but So I remember watching World Harvest on TV, right? And we're like, we should go visit. And World Harvest is in Ohio, right? On Refugee Road, Jenner Road, right? Canal Winchester. So
And wait a minute. So you're telling me there's a correlation between the cornfields
I'm
and
telling yeah,
Ohio?
hold
Is that
on.
what you're saying
Yes.
here? Okay.
Yes. Hold on.
Okay.
So, like, we're from Connecticut and close to New
Okay.
York. So, we
Uh,
have the city, right? And
yeah.
water. So, we drove, my sister drove us out to go visit. And the one thing that we saw was cornfields, right?
Uh,
And we were like, huh? So we're like, okay, confirmation, yeah. And then as we
this
were
is good.
driving, we saw an apartment complex, and guess what was on? What color doors was on the apartment complex?
Red.
Red doors.
The red doors.
Yep.
Oh my.
And we were like, man, maybe this is where we need to be moving.
Mm.
Yeah. And with
Okay.
$200 in our pocket and duffel bags, we moved from Connecticut to
To
Ohio
Ohio.
to a homeless shelter, the women's YWCA women's shelter, 17 years ago.
Okay. You moved from Connecticut to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
With $200, $200 in your pocket. You, your sister,
Her kids
and
and
her
my daughter. She
kids,
was 3 months old.
and your daughter, 3 months old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, behind because of the dream.
Yes, we moved on the dream.
On the dream, a dream of this cornfield
Yeah.
and these red doors.
Yes.
This had to be the spot
Yeah.
because of the dream. So you took off for $200, and you got to the YMCA shelter. You said
YWCA.
YWCA. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, YWCA. Oh, downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many children? What?
So I had my two nephews, niece, and then my 3 month old, my sister and me.
Okay.
Um, and during that time, when we tried to get help in Connecticut, it was hard. A lot of doors were closing, so to speak. But as soon as we got to Ohio, it all lined up.
Mm-hmm.
We had shelter, we had clothes. I was able to get childcare to watch my daughter. Yeah, 3 months old, young, but you do what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how to, you know, the bus route, find work, and hustle, so to speak, for the first time.
Well, yeah. Where did you find work?
Oh man, I found work over at I would say Canal Winchester in that area, still around Small
Yeah.
Harvest, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So he was traveling doing that and walking for miles. Follow me, walking for miles. During that time, there wasn't no bus route on Refugee Road. You had to walk.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking from the corner of Hamilton Road to Refugee Road and Gender.
Oh
I want to
wow.
say
Let's
it's a
see.
long truck. It's a long. You try pushing
Yes.
a stroller
Mm.
with CP, cerebral palsy, you dragging your toes, pushing your stroller back and
Oh.
forth.
Whoa.
Come on,
Mm.
right? And you don't know what you can do until you got to get it done, and so it's staring you in the face, and that's what I had to do. I had two jobs. I was working at Applebee's and McDonald's from like 8 a.m. to 3 a.m. Right? It was a long. And then my sister was working too. We had to make ends meet. We had to get stable. Um, and what I noticed while I was walking, because like I said, I was always falling, tripping. It's part of CP. It's normal. My body started getting stronger.
The more you walk,
The more I
the stronger you
walked,
got. Okay.
the more I moved, the more I started seeing growth in my calf muscles. And I remember looking down, I was like, whoa, I got muscle, I got calves.
Yeah.
Now with CP, it's hard to even build muscles. Because the construct of the muscle, you need that you need the expansion and the contraction to build. You can't do that with CP, but with continued movement, I
Yeah.
realized I could.
Yeah. The more you move,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
You're
it's
amazed. So while you were pushing that buggy down
awesome.
Hamilton Road, refugee, yeah, you were actually rehabilitating your own body. You were building up your own body. And you had to be building up something mentally and in your spirit as you continue to work and survive
Yeah.
and you start seeing the end of the road or start seeing some light, huh?
Yeah. Just learning how to, knowing that God's with you and knowing like all the steps you make and everything else, you start to see doors open and things are connecting. And though it's hard and you feel rejected at times, especially when once I moved here, it was just, it's all uncomfortable. But like this is what God's called you to do, you do it, and that's what I learned. I learned to push through hurdles. I learned through to just keep striving, and things started to click. Now I was doing Applebee's, and I went into childcare. And I remember while I was walking, I was like, man, I wonder if I could run. I never ran
Mm.
before. I was 25 years old. 25 years old, still haven't ran.
25 years old and you had never run
Never
before.
ran.
All right.
Not like, like run, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, let me start working out. Let me
Mm.
start working out. See what God's doing here. Um, and I walked into the YMCA for the first time when I was 25, 26 years old. And I was okay. I'm gonna start training, start working out. That journey alone was a lot. Just learning how to use equipment for your body. Now imagine going in there and seeing everyone work out, what I call able body. What able body is a person who is able to move naturally, or what quote unquote normal, and they're able to use equipment.
Mm.
Now say if your body is not moving like someone else's, your body is not going to respond the same, right?
Right.
Now I had to figure out, just like everything else, how to survive, how to do this, how to you know you know learn how to work at Applebee. All those, you learn those different things, but I had to do the same thing on the fitness floor too. I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how I'm going to make this
Where you fit
equipment,
in. Yeah.
yeah, work
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
because I don't see nobody else like me here. I felt
Mm-hmm.
once again alone, out of place, uncomfortable at
Mm-hmm.
the Y. Any fitness industry, or I was at other gyms too as I progressed, because you don't you don't see as many or other people with
People
different
like you.
diverse
Sure.
abilities.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that that journey was hard, but I slowly got through it. And I remember there was a track at Jerry Garver. I remember running or trying to run, and I kept falling. And it's embarrassing.
Mm.
For me, it was embarrassing. But I learned how to pick up my legs more. I learned how to I've started gaining more strength. And if it wasn't for those members, there was a couple members there. I got photos to show that. They helped pick me up. They helped get me off the floor. I said, "Are you okay? We're gonna keep going." And I kept going. And I kept pushing. And at the age of 26 years old, I get goosebumps every time I say this, because it was a pivotal moment in my life. At the age of 26 years old, I ran my first 5K.
Mm.
I signed up for a run and I ran my first 5K. Um, it was Toyota Mile. You know where the bridge is? That's
Yes.
Toyota Mile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a color run. The color run when you have all the colors and dust in here.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Um,
That feeling had to be,
Amazing. Now
yes.
imagine, like, when I first started running, my muscles are still stiff. It's what I thought was normal. Okay,
Mm.
just dragging your toe, but still running, still doing the best that I can.
Okay.
And I want to say midway during that run, I felt heat and tingling from the top of my head, I kid you not, to the bottom of my toes.
Uh,
And for the first time in my life, for the first time, I felt I was like running. I was running free. I was free. My body, the restriction in my muscles was gone. I
Mm.
was just moving. And it was ever changing. And at that moment, I remembered a dream when I was a kid. Like I said, I don't have vivid dreams now. It's not my thing. I had a dream when I was 5 or 6 years old. And I was running in my dream. And I was barefoot. And I remember the grass between my toes, wind hitting my face. I had to be 6 or 7 years old because I still remember my Little Mermaid or Lion King. It was like sheets. I remember pulling them off. I'm waking up out of the dream, breathing hard. Thought I was really running, but I wasn't because I had my leg braces on. Remember. And at that moment when I was running, God was like, "You remember that dream?" And I was like, "Oh my God." God heard my prayer when I was 6 or 7. And I was always crying as a kid. At the end of that race, I was like, "You heard me before I gave you my life over. You knew me before I knew who God really was." Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
He was there watching
That's
me every
wonderful.
step of the way. At that moment, I was like, I gotta let everybody know.
What happened? Had this revelation to become a personal trainer at this time?
Yeah. Yes. I would like. I wasn't called to be a personal trainer. It's not what I wanted to do, but God called me to do that. You know what I mean? And sometimes you won't find success until God's put you, will always put you in a place where you're not called to be, so to speak, but He puts you in that place.
Mm-hmm.
So I was uncomfortable, but I did it, and I knew I had to break the barriers, help break the boundaries of things that I went through,
Right.
not having the access, the fitness access, the access to live quote unquote a normal life, to be involved in. And a part of that closing the gap, I knew I'm like, okay, I could do this. And the health and fitness industry is has so much ableism in it. And I
So, what moves did you make to get yourself involved into the fitness program,
yeah.
and to get diversity uh, into the fitness program? Yeah.
I had to, one, get educated, become a personal trainer, get certified
Okay.
to be a PT. Two, I had to fight my way, improve myself, so I could become a wellness director,
Mm-hmm.
management, and that alone I had to break down barriers there too. Um, but I'm slowly starting to shed light, talk about how we can make things more inclusive, how the equipment is not set for all, and I can show ways on how to do that because of my experience. Um, Pretty much highlight, keep on talking about it, advocating for it, so we can have access and live a life worth living, so to speak, just to live your life like everybody else. Why not? Why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm called to do, and I'm gonna keep
And
making programs and videos and showing them how to adapt equipment, how to work out people with diverse abilities, from autism to CP to MS to, this is what.
just your calling.
Yeah.
That's your calling, and it's beautiful. Just in overall dealing with your story, which is a fascinating story, by the way. Um, what message? What's your overall message that you would like to leave to our viewers, those who have disabilities, those who are just in need to understand uh, uh, what one might be feeling um, in dealing with these challenges.
Um, Always, well, first and foremost, if you know anyone, always be welcoming, always be accepting. If you don't know how to interact, learn. There's a lot of people there to help educate. There's resources out there. And I guess my message is trust in God with all your heart, with all your soul. From a child who could not walk, who was told who could not walk, has ran, who not even run, but I've done 2 half marathons, 5 obstacle courses,
Mm,
3 bodybuilding competitions, and 2 I was told I wasn't going to place. I placed second in masters and third in overall.
whoa.
Trust in God. Give God everything in your life, and He will set the path. And my big message here is when you're on that course and you think you hit a wall or something, a life-changing event happens, such as an illness, um, an accident, or loss of a family. We're all going to have life-changing moments. Do not get caught up in how you think the process should have gone. God will bring you to the finish line. Your
Mm,
body may not be as able or as mobile as it was. Your health may not have be as, oh, I'm supposed to achieve this. God didn't promise that. God promised the finish line. He didn't promise what it was going to be as you go through that.
mm,
So keep pursuing no matter what until you're done. If you cannot walk, crawl. You cannot crawl, you just keep moving until you finish. That's what I've learned throughout this whole journey.
woo.
You keep going.
Janet Torres. All right.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so glad that you blessed us with your presence today. Um, and I'm sure there's no doubt that you're an inspiration to thousands. You'd be surprised at how many people I know that just in being in your presence, like I say, coming into the gym, you know, you just make me feel better. And I think you're an inspiration to all. And I want to thank all of our viewers for being with us this afternoon. And again, I'm going to ask you all to follow us, to like us, and to share us with your friends and your relatives. And we'll see you the next go round. Thank you.